This is Armed American Radio. Here is Mark Walters.
Welcome to the Armed American Radio Network, America. We have Rob Steele. Rob Steele, hey, you're our first guest.
Hey, I'm fired up. I'm doing great. We're, you were talking about getting rid of Johns, and we've got a pair of Johns we got to get rid of, actually, I guess. We got John Dingle right here at Michigan 15th we got to get rid of. And, of course, he used to be on the NRA board, but they dumped him from that, and he has an F rating from Gun Owners of America.
Well, Dr. Steele, let's let everybody know that you are running again. You are making your third appearance on Armed American Radio, and I love it because as we get closer and closer to November, more things are happening up there in your district, in the 15th District in Michigan. And you've got them on their heels, my friend. Tell us what's going on up there.
Well, it's going great. We've had two polls, and both polls, one we did by a great polling firm out of Virginia, and then WDIV, the local TV network channel, along with the Detroit News, did a poll. They both show something they each show two things. They both show that more people want Dingell to retire than be reelected. One poll, it's 49 to 37, get somebody new. The other one's 47 to 42, get someone new. And in a straight-out poll, Dingell gets 51 in one poll and 49 in another. And so that's just a disaster for a 55-year incumbent to be under 50% after Labor Day. So we are in great shape. We've got a lot of energy. This past week I was on Mark Levin's radio show, Dennis Prager's radio show, Roger Hedgecock's radio show. I was on Fox Business TV, and just a lot of great stuff happening.
Man, Sean, he's running the rounds, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I heard him on Prager, and I was like, there he is.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Absolutely.
He's our friend. We love it. We love it. Well, Rob, you have up there a Second Amendment, what is it, a pig roast coming up on October 10th, right?
Yep, at Tri-County Sportsman League in Saline, Michigan. Now, they have a website, and, you can Google Tri-County Sportsman Club, and that'll pop right up. And that's going to be on October 10th. We're having a pig roast, just kind of a meet and greet, 3 p.m. on Sunday. I don't know if we're going to be shooting some trap or skeet or something in addition. I'm not quite sure exactly what's happening other than that we're going to be there, and we're going to raise a few bucks and meet some great gun rights supporters. And I just got my Rifleman magazine from NRA, and I noticed, they have a name stamped on the front of who to contact for your area, and then for my area, it was a guy named Wayne Blank down in Monroe, and he's part of Monroe Sportsman Club. And I've been on the phone a bunch with Wayne, and he's going to be a good guy to be working with. And there's a lot of people down here who know that Dingell has been removed from the board, though we know the NRA will support Dingell regardless. So we're just trying to get out there and let all the NRA supporters and Second Amendment folks know that in my candidacy, they've got somebody who's on their team. I've got the little blue card in my wallet. And, I'll be lined up with them probably a lot better than most of the other issues than Dingell will be, I would imagine.
Now, do we know the website address for the pig roast?
Yeah, it's TCLS, and I am pulling it right back up again here now. It's TCSL.org, www.tcsl.org. Saline, Michigan is the mailing address, and October 10th on their calendar it shows up as the NRA Second Amendment Pig Roast Fundraiser, 3 p.m.
Now, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here, Dr. Steele, because I am in contact with WDTK, of course, our affiliate up there in Detroit, and we're working on trying to get up there and broadcast the show, either from the pig roast or from the WDTK studio. Sean, how fun will that be?
Yeah, that sounds real nice.
We are working on that. We're going to try to put that together and see if we, how much support we can get. Let's give the times out for that. That's going to be on Sunday, and it starts at what time on the 10th?
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Now, I have to ask this question because I've been spending most of my life down south. You guys up there know how to do a pig roast?
I'm not sure if we do or not. I've got friends that have these big things they pull behind their trucks that have motorized spits that they put the pig in and turn them while they're driving down the road.
Sounds like they know how to do a pig roast.
Yeah,
Sean?
so I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening out at Tri-County, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time.
That is going to be a great time. Sean, you guys don't do pigs. You guys do what? Beef, right?
Well, I do pig. I prefer pig over beef, but that's just me.
Oh no, that's Texas barbecue is beef barbecue.
Yeah, but.
Okay,
what
Sean,
about
you
our
had...
friend, you got that great lead-in music there with Uncle Ted, which is just fantastic. Stranglehold. I want to call him and see if I can use just what the doctor ordered for my campaign.
Oh, that is a good.
Ooh, that is a good one. Sean, you had a question about the pledge.
Yes, Mr. Steele, what do you think about the plague? I mean, the pledge. Do you think it's something that we should work with? Is it a step in the right direction?
You mean the new Republican leadership?
Yes.
Thing? Yeah. Well, I mean, most of it's common sense. I mean,
Yeah.
Everybody's always going to quibble about one or two things here and there, but I think the reality is we got to take care of the main things, and the main things are obviously, holding the line on spending, making Congress, accountable and transparent, so that any issues that people disagree on and don't line right up on, they can take care of their discussion in the light of day, and that the votes are held in the light of day after the issues have full airing, instead of this behind-the-scenes, late at night, 1,200 pages, nobody's read, vote at midnight on Christmas Eve. I mean, that's not the way it needs to go. So, I don't think anybody's going to agree 100% on all of them, but most of them are pretty reasonable and common sense. There's no question that some of these young guys that are in Congress that are putting these ideas together, I mean, they're interested in fixing the problems, and that's the problem that we have now in Congress, is we have all these career guys whose only interest is in getting reelected, and they don't want to discuss the actual solutions because they think, they'll be beat over the head with it politically. But, I think it's a great start. Make sure we've got enough of them that, move us in the right direction. I don't think we can sit still while we wait for everybody to agree on 100% of everything.
Dr. Steele, in the first segment, I gave John Kerry what I believe to be a well-deserved Armed American Radio Bonehead of the Week award for the ludicrous comment that he made that, summed up and paraphrased, is the American electorate is too stupid to understand what we're trying to do. That's essentially what he said, that we don't get it because we don't pay attention, and we just can't see that what they're trying to do is good for us. And that's part of, isn't that attitude backfiring on these folks right now in a huge way?
Absolutely. It's one of our secret weapons and one of the keys to, what's going on here with what the mainstream media refers somewhat derisively as the Tea Parties. And the reality is when I'm out there talking to people, and these independents, they're just people, they want the spending stopped and they don't want to be ignored. They just want to be listened to. They want to be represented. They want to have the consent of the governed. And all of a sudden there's a bunch of independents that are standing up saying, hey, we're the governed. We're going to give our consent before you go any further. And to do that, we're going to stand up and go vote and take Congress back and give it to the voter and the average citizens who are paying the taxes and working their jobs and paying their bills. And make that happen. And I love it when the media misrepresents all these people, because they just keep growing and get more upset and feel like they're being ignored, and they get stronger and stronger, and more people come out. And that's just what we see when we're out on the ground in the campaign and out with our volunteers, that people are just excited and think they're being ignored. And so
now you're hearing this. You're hearing this firsthand out
absolutely.
On the street, right?
Oh, my goodness gracious, yes. I mean, and it doesn't make any difference. It's just, in our congressional district, there's probably 10 or 15 groups that would, identify themselves as, new independent groups that just formed. And if you go to one part of the district out in a rural area, I mean, they'll have their NRA hat and their blue jeans. If you go to another part that's a little more well-heeled, they'll be in suits and ties. They're just people who are fed up and tired of being ignored. I mean, they understand that when the Constitution was put together and this country got started, that they had just escaped tyranny, and what the people with the Congress and the government was supposed to do was to ask the people what they wanted done and derive their powers from the people. And the people are saying, we're going to hold you to that now.
Yeah, I think we're getting back to that. Ladies and gentlemen, you're on the Armed American Radio Network. We'll be right back after these messages with Dr. Robert Steele. Don't go away. I have got, Sean, so much stuff in front of me here. If you're looking at the Ustream feed, you can see it here. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do.
Every one of these headlines is relevant to what we talk about on Armed American Radio every week. I'll give you a few of them. Folks out in Nevada. Agreement allows guns in Nevada state parks. Out in Nevada, again, officers fatally shoot armed man at Summerlin Costco. Sean, this is a huge story.
Yeah, it is.
We're going to tackle this later in the show with Rob Pincus and Michael Bain, and we're going to talk about it in a tremendous amount of detail for probably the better part of the roundtable. Hillsborough County Commission approves concealed weapons and beer consumption in public parks. Now, don't you love the way that headline is written, folks?
What?
Hillsborough County Commission approves concealed weapons and beer consumption in public parks. And the way that's written is what I despise about the mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. It makes this sound like the Hillsborough County Commission said, hey, guess what? Bring your guns and drink your beer.
Exactly.
That's not what this means. These are two separate
issues.
Two separate issues that were brought up. Now, it's interesting. What I love to read are the comments that follow these stories. Because as I've said before, Sean, and as you've agreed, that you can really get a take on which way the paper leans.
Oh, absolutely.
By reading the comments.
You can read the headlines, and it'll tell you.
Well, regarding the parks one here, and again, we'll talk about it later, but just to touch on it. What makes you think there weren't firearms in these parks before the county made the change? Concealed weapons and firearms license holders have been able to carry in Hillsborough County parks for a long time because of the state preemption laws, and that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it makes it sound like, well, let's just let concealed permit holders bring coolers of beer to the parks, and that's not what this is about.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Misinformed reporter.
Well, here you get NRA is. I love the NRA. I get these Google alerts. I get tons of them.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of them. Can't even keep track of them. They're coming in all day long. The emails just ding, 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 ding all day long with these things. One of them that came in from the NRA ILA. Nice try, but no cigar for Brady Campaign's Paul Helmke. Paul Helmke again. We can give him a bonehead of the week every week if we want to.
He should just have one just named after him.
He really should.
The Helmke Award.
We have to come up with the right background music.
I'll work on that this week.
We are working on it. I'm searching when I want a good one that we don't have to change every week.
Okay.
And we also, later in the show, Sean, coming up, folks, Wisconsin, very disturbing story up in Wisconsin that was sent to me by a listener in Wisconsin. Madison, Wisconsin Police Department arrests 5 members of WisconsinCarry.org for openly, legally carrying their sidearms. And this story's amazing. And we're going to talk with Arik Gold, a representative from Madison, Wisconsin, of Wisconsin Carry. He will be here later in the show to talk about what's going on up there and why this is such a travesty and what they're doing about it. And because of some scheduling, we had to kind of jumble up our guests today a little bit, Sean. We're going to bring him on later in the show, okay?
Yes.
All right. Let's go back and bring Dr. Robert Steele, our favorite congressional candidate up in Michigan's 15th District, running against John Dingell. Dr. Steele, welcome back.
Thank you.
Boy, some of these stories, they get you.
Well, you've discussed the basic slant of the headlines and that sort of thing, and the media will do anything they can to cover up the fact that the higher the carry rate is, the lower the violent crime is. And people just don't want data, and that's one thing that's so frustrating from my point of view running for Congress. I'm a doctor and do, emergency interventions and open arteries in the middle of the night and that sort of thing. And with my job, if something's not going right, I have to immediately recognize that it's not going right. I have to say, oops, I was wrong. I need to change direction and do something that's going to give us a different outcome because the outcome is right in front of me. And these people in Congress, they don't care about outcomes whatsoever. They just have an agenda. They just want to keep working it. They want to get reelected, and fixing the problems isn't actually that high on their list. Just getting reelected is, and that's why this is a great election cycle. There's a lot of people like me who haven't run before or haven't been involved at all. And they're just saying, you know what, we're sick and tired of this. You know, the people want the problems fixed, and the only way we can do that is to get some people in there who aren't actually politicians, people who've been out there in the real world and had to fix problems and live with the results. And so that's why, you know, one of the reasons the media fights so hard to keep some of the data on these things out of there, because they know that once the wall's broken down and the real data's there, and that once people who are kind of normal get into office and try to fix the problems, people say, hey, it's not that hard to fix these problems. Let's get it done.
That's what they're so afraid of the Internet for.
Absolutely. And, you know, the whole cable situation, the whole Internet situation, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, you know, you remember like during the Vietnam War, and you used to watch Dan Rather and Walter Cronkite, they're reporting from Vietnam. There was 3 channels, and if you didn't get on those 3 channels, you didn't get it.
You know, unfortunately, I am old enough to remember that.
I know that you're just about there.
You know, but it really bothers me, Dr. Steele, when I see, you know, such a simple headline: Hillsborough County Commission approves concealed weapons and beer consumption in public parks. Come on, you know, it's making it sound like, hey, bring your guns and your coolers.
It's one of those things where you see the deal about the stuff that you see in church bulletins, and they, you know, you just don't know if they're that stupid or if they do it on purpose. It's hard to tell because they're so bad at other things. They might just be that dumb. I don't know.
Well, that's, you know, Kerry thinks we're all stupid and that we don't get it, that what they're trying to do is help us. Having said that, I was down in South Florida this week, and I had on a Fox News broadcast in the car with my dad, and lo and behold, they were talking about you. And I said, hey, turn that up. And what they were doing, Dr. Steele, was they were talking about the Democrats' new attack posture at you, about how they're attacking you because you're a successful doctor, and they're trying to, what they're doing is they're playing class warfare now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Sean, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
And they were going after you, and now you're starting to feel this now, aren't you, as we get closer to November, Dr. Steele?
Oh, yeah, well, though it's helping me. I mean, there's been a real backlash against that strategery up here because, you know, they're attacking me for wanting to outsource jobs and being a Wall Street yes man, and it's obviously silly. I was working full-time as a doctor until the Tuesday after Labor Day. I don't know a single person on Wall Street. There's nothing in my, you know, job or career or business that has anything to do with outsourcing jobs, and it just shows you how much, it's kind of like John Kerry, you know, that whole thing, we're not smart enough. Just think how disrespectful it is to the voters, or what the Democrats must think of their voters if they think that some doctors is a Wall Street fat cat are outsourcing jobs. It's insanity to the nth degree. And the people in the Detroit media, Frank Beckman and WJR and many others, have been attacking the fact that Dingell and the Democrat Party is attacking me for being successful. And that's exactly the wrong message, and that we want people to be successful. And so what would you attack somebody for being successful for?
Well, you know,
I've
never worked for a poor man, Dr. Steele. And
well, you know, someone's got to create the jobs. And,
that's exactly correct.
You know, you can't feed the hungry if your plate's empty. And so you've got to go ahead and be successful and create something so that you can help someone else first. You know, it's not poor people that take care of the world. It's the people who work and have success and give to others. And it's interesting that the whole situation is upside down. Someone has to cook the pie first. I mean, they just think the pie's there and it's going to get divided up, but you have to add the ingredients. You have to have something to pass out first, and that's the people who work hard. You know, I was talking with some folks this morning at a church, and you know, when you talk about our declaration, it's the pursuit of happiness. It's not the equalization of an outcome. It's the pursuit of happiness, and that's the great thing about the United States. You can pursue a higher if you want to achieve higher, and you can pursue to the average if you want to be average. But, you know, unless we've got someone who's coming up with a great idea on their own in an entrepreneurial way, I mean, where would we be without Apple Computer, for example? It's just, you know, things are created. It can't be planned centrally. We just got to unleash the entrepreneurs and make things happen.
That's called the American dream, folks. Folks, I wish I could redefine local city councils across the country, in particular South Portland, Maine. Did you know that according to a report up there in the Portland Press Herald, another Google alert, mind you, that it may soon be illegal to possess non-lethal weapons, and I'm quoting now, such as BB guns, air guns, bows and arrows, or slingshots.
No.
Yeah, now this is great. and I'll tell you why. Listen to this. But the change that the city council is going for does not restrict possession of firearms in public places. Now, we have someone borderline bonehead here, and her name is Linda Boudreau. She's one of the council members up there. And she said the ordinance change is needed to prevent potentially deadly confrontations between police and people with air guns and BB guns.
What?
Yeah. And one of the guys, Thomas Blake, was the only counselor who objected. And you know what he was doing while he was objecting?
What?
And mocking and ridiculing this ridiculous proposal?
What?
He was making a slingshot with a rubber band in his hand while he was at the council meeting. Are you serious?
That's great stuff right there.
And, of course, that's angering gun owners all over the place.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. Come on, when does it stop?
Well, there was a guy that attended the meeting. His name was James E. Hoy. He owns a slingshot, a nail gun, and a hunting rifle. And he said, and I quote, "All this law does or will do is provide the police with an opening to come into my life. Punish the criminals, not us. You are pushing the limits of our civil liberties," said Gary Crosby. And he said, think about this. And again, I quote him. "If a 10-year-old boy wants to go over to a neighbor's house with a slingshot, he can be arrested."
That's just unreal.
Wow. You're on the Armed American Radio Network, Armed American Radio Network, and we are going to finish up this segment with Dr. Rob Steele, who is running against John Dingell, Michigan's, well, I should say, America's longest-serving congressman. Dr. Steele, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. You were just talking about, the kid going next door, and just imagine when you grew up compared to what goes on now, the criminalization of America. And, in fact, there's an excellent new book out by the Heritage Foundation talking about all the crazy laws on the books where normal law-abiding citizens behaving in a manner that they feel is completely appropriate for society are oftentimes in violation of laws that just make no sense, and they would never even, it wouldn't cross their mind that they could be breaking the law, and that's kind of what's going on here a lot of times nowadays. I'm sure glad I'm not, when I grew up in a small town, and just the kind of running around we used to do and having fun, boy, that would worry me if I was doing that today.
Well, I was 9 years old in Ann Arbor. I lived in Ann Arbor when I was 9 years old, over on Blewett Drive, went to Clegg Middle School.
Okay.
And, not far from you, where you are now.
Yep.
And I was there till I was about 14, 15 years old, and played with BB guns. And I can't imagine that being criminalized.
We used to take, horse chestnuts that have the cover on them with the spikes. We would have use leather gloves and throw them at each other as a form of, fun. I imagine nowadays if you did that, you'd be arrested for assault with a deadly weapon. I don't know.
Well, for crying out loud, go to Kmart and try to buy some lawn jarts, will you? Remember those things?
I've got 2 sets here in my garage from my parents. Maybe we could put them on eBay and make some money for the campaign, which reminds me, you've got great listeners. They should send me a donation at robsteeleforcongress.com. But what we need to do is to get that great, gun owner of America, Ted Nugent, pulling for us here. And that's what I'm thinking. That's why I got to call him, ask him if I can use just what the doctor ordered, royalty-free, to see if we can get a hold of the guy.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. We've been in contact with Ted's camp. He's coming back on Armed American Radio. We're working on a date right now. We'll see if we can't hook you guys up.
That'd be fantastic.
He just finished his, what was it, Trample the Weak, Hurdle the Dead tour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think he just ended up here in Michigan. I think his last date was up here at DTE Energy Music Theater, formerly, different name. But that would be great to get Ted involved. He's a great spokesman for all things good in America. Self-reliance, self-sufficiency, taking care of yourself, and if you don't like it, go take care of yourself some other way.
Well, I scratch my head when I hear comments that Kerry made about the fact that we're too stupid. And I think, how can a guy who has spent the majority of his life in public service, I don't begrudge him that, he has, make such idiotic comments. Well, what that does is it reeks of elitism, and that's what the American voter is going after in November. And the more they say it, the merrier I get, Dr. Steele.
Well, I can't figure out. I mean, John Kerry's a great example. It's like John Dingell. I mean, they've never been in private life. They don't understand that solutions come from being, thoughtful, innovative, creative, and helping other people. I mean, when you create a business and you provide a service, someone has to decide, I'm going to take my own hard-earned money out of my pocket and hand it to you because you've done something I'm willing to give you money for. And that's a revelation to them. They have no idea. They just don't get this idea that you have to do something first to create anything at all, and their whole solution always revolves around taking more tax money, spending our grandkids' future, and having the government get involved. It's just not the answer. It's not how we got to our position now, and it's certainly not how we're going to maintain and move forward and our competitive position in the world. I mean, everybody's after us. And if we can't sit here and retreat to them, we have to keep our innovators moving forward and encourage them to get out and do things.
I think we should continue to apologize for our wealth in this country and forget charitable contributions. Let's let the government let the government take my money.
Oh, no.
Sure, and give it away to the charities that they see fit.
I ain't feeling that. I'm sorry.
No, I know you're not. I'm kidding. The email's blowing up already. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. I can't tell you the names I'm being called right now.
Well, it's obviously been shown over and over that Americans are the most generous country in America. Not just all. It's not Americans in general. It's conservative Americans that are more generous, actually, than, quote, liberal Americans. And that's, people donate to what they want to do, and that's their own individual decision. But it's an interesting phenomena that is extremely well documented throughout the recent past when they've been able to study such things. And it's interesting as well, the whole estate tax situation, which is about to blow up. All these charitable organizations and these nonprofits and foundations, they all want the estate tax to be high because it kind of forces people to give to these charities, which then get taken over by these liberal interests. And you've got the paradox of Henry Ford, who, of course, was one of the wealthiest capitalists who created massive prosperity for entire southeast Michigan. And, of course, Detroit in 1950 was the wealthiest city in the United States. And you just have to look what, 30 years of policies thinking that government control is the way, and just take a look at southeast Michigan. That's why we need
it's a nightmare, and that's what liberal policies do. Dr. Steele, tell America where the website is, where they can donate to your campaign to oust Dingell.
Absolutely. Rob Steele for Congress, ROBSTEELEFOR, Congress.com. Thanks so much, you guys. Keep up the great work. I look forward to talking to you. Get Uncle Ted in here to my campaign. That'd be fantastic.
We're working on it, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Folks, you've been listening to the Armed American Radio Network.